Well, today's deadlift day, and you probably already know it's a little hard to deadlift at the LA Fitness because you can't use chalk and you can't throw your weights around. So me and a group of fathead powerlifters just got a little setup here. It's one of these kind of spots that everybody likes to get in, train, do their big workouts in. So go ahead and see what we can do today. Well, no sense wasting time. Deadlifts are pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of technique involved here. You got to keep the bar close to your body. I use an over-under grip. You want to keep your back flat and press the weight up. You know, deadlifts, one of the reasons that deadlifts have always been known to be the ultimate test of strength is there's not a whole ton of technique involved. It's just to, however strong you are and however hard you can pull, get the weight off the ground. I think it's one of the best overall exercises for building thickness from head to toe, from your traps to your ankles, is the deadlift. And it wasn't until I started deadlifting consistently and heavy that I was able to thicken my entire body, chest to back, entire torso, everything. From being a 160-pound guy, relatively thin, to slowly growing into a thicker, heavier powerlifter, bodybuilder. That happens with these basics, the heavy squats, the heavy deadlifts. So they will work up, again, relatively slowly, let my body slowly adapt to the weight and get used to it, so when we get up to the heavy weights, we're not pulling anything, but eventually we'll get up there, I'll be warmed up, and we'll try and do some big pulls today. Like I talked about with the bench press, we're going to try and pyramid this into the meet. So I try not to max out, I'll try and do doubles or triples. I don't do a lot of repetitions on heavy day. I'll never go over, say, 3 to 5. And then I don't deadlift every single week either. I'll deadlift heavy maybe every 2 or 3 weeks. It takes a long time for your body to recover. We haven't talked about this yet, but a lot of these big exercises, particularly the squat and the deadlift, they require a slow and gradual process of getting your body to adapt to the load, what they call training your central nervous system to be able to handle these kinds of weights, because that central nervous system gets impacted significantly from pulling huge weights or squatting huge weights. So gradually over time, you have to train your body to be able to handle these kind of loads. So we'll just get started nice and slow today, get warmed up. I try not to tire my back out, so I'm not going to do a whole lot of full reps. I never arch the back at the top like you see folks do. It compresses the spine. It's a bad idea, particularly with a lot of weight. In the lighter weights, I'll just get the legs used to the first half of the movement. Breaking inertia is the hardest part of the movement, getting the bar off the ground, keeping your back flat. And I'll slowly get my body used to the load. I'm keeping it close to the body, feet about shoulder width apart. I use an alternate grip, and that helps me hold the bar so it doesn't slip out of my hands when I get real heavy. And then I'll coil my body up, just like with the bench press. When I grab that bar, I'm applying a little bit of tension. I'm keeping my back flat, and then I'm exploding the weight. So you'll see as I get up to 2 plates, 3 plates, 4 plates, you notice I'm just exploding off the ground as fast as I can. And that momentum helps me finish the drive. So I'm putting a little tension right here. You can actually see the bar coming up just a little bit. I'm applying a little tension to get started. And then I'm exploding. Everybody's different, because everybody's different height, different length of arms, different length of torso, different femur length. So you can't predict what the angles are going to be like. You can't predict until somebody grabs the bar how the back is going to look, how the angle of the hips are going to look. But the one important thing that you can do, and what everybody needs to do when they grab the bar, is to keep their back flat. If your hips come up and the back rounds, you're never going to be able to lift heavy. So your goal is to maintain a flat back. Drive with the legs. One of the most important things I tell people about the deadlift movement is it's not a pull. it's a press. It's a leg press movement. And if you picture yourself in a leg press, the weight coming down, compressing the thighs against the midsection, and then pushing up, that's the same kind of movement you want to replicate here. This is a leg press movement. Drive the heels through the ground, maintain the upper body and the lower back in a stable position. So I'm pressing. When I grab this bar, I'm not pulling the weight up. I'm pressing through the ground and just keeping my upper body stable, keeping my back flat. So I will press this through the floor, is what I'm thinking here. That's what's going on in my head, and that's the movement I'm trying to imitate. This bar's got a lot of gnarls on it. I'm already starting to tear up the shins, so I'll put some wraps on my shins today so I don't bleed all over the bar. But other than that, that's about all I'll use. Some chalk on the hands, and just gradually work up and get warmed up. This is a terrible shoe to deadlift in. I'll go in my socks today. You can see this big, thick rubber sole, and the shoes tend to get to wear unevenly as you wear them. You really want to be flat and as close to the floor as possible to reduce the range of motion. The higher the heel on the shoe, you're basically doing a deficit deadlift. And they also have a tendency to wobble or rotate because that rubber compresses. When I get up to 600-700 pounds, this will all compress. So I'll end up in my socks today deadlifting. Usually you'll deadlift in a wrestling shoe or even a slipper is how big time deadlifters will do it. These little things here, they're just elbow wraps, or knee wraps, but I'll put them on my shins today just so the bar doesn't chew me up. Some people will wear socks and pull their socks up. A good deadlift bar has real good gnarls on it. Those gnarls will chew up your shins pretty quick, particularly if you're doing repetitions. You guys camera shy? Camera comes on, you all run off? Huh?
You figured it's all about you today, Stan.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot more to say about deadlift, just to do it, so. We tend to be a lazy sort, so these are a little plate there to roll the weight up on.
So when I'm powerlifting, a lot of folks wonder what it is that goes through my head is to psych me up as I'm prepping for a lift. And I don't really have a routine for that. I'm usually so prepared by the time I get to the meet that it's routine for me just to do the lift. And most of my enthusiasm or excitement comes after the lift, not before. And I don't really hear the music that's playing. I don't really hear people in the audience. I'm just so focused on what I'm doing. I'm thinking about the technique that goes into the lift. And I've just never had a consistent routine for that. I've always just stepped up and done what I've always done in the gym every week for 25 years.
We always set up the same, we always do everything exactly the same, whether it's 135, whether it's 800. You always want to do everything the same. Set up, create tension, explode out of the day.
Set up. Create tension.
It's so routine for me now that I don't have to sniff any ammonia or jump up and down or get slapped on the back, and it just doesn't do anything for me. I'm more interested in executing a technically perfect lift, and when that happens, then I'm excited. So I'll celebrate after. I won't jump around before.
People always ask about best exercise for your abs. Squats and deadlifts, number one exercise for your core. I've never done sit-ups before shows. I've always trained with the heavy basic movements. Ab showers, just shredded, just blocks of muscle. You can't create that doing crunches. You can't create that doing sit-ups. You can only create that doing these heavy basic movements that cause your core to stabilize your body. That's how you create huge amounts of thick, dense abdominal muscle, plus your hip flexors and your psoas major underneath and your intercostals. Those are all created from squatting and deadlifting, not from sit-ups. And then if you want them to show, then you diet the fat away and those blocks and bricks will come out. They're incredible stabilizers for this movement. That's why you don't see me wearing a belt on most of the lighter movements, because I want to make sure both my abs and my back are working together to stabilize my torso. And that's what the abdominals and the lower back do. They work against each other to hold your torso from tilting over or back on both the squat and the deadlift. And that's why you create so much thickness and so much muscle in your torso from doing these exercises, these basic powerlifting movements. And then as I get really heavy, I'll incorporate a belt, but you don't always need it on deadlifts. Because it's such a structured movement when you're starting in such a fixed position. There's not a whole lot of, like on a squat, there's a lot of opportunity for sway on the way down, on the way back up. There's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong. And so as you get heavier on a squat, a belt might be more pertinent. But on deadlift, you've got one job, and that's to stabilize your lower back while you're pressing with your legs. And that, oftentimes, a belt doesn't do much help for you. And again, like I talked about with assistance, things like belts and grip straps, etc., they can tend to crunch a muscle. They can tend to weaken the muscle if you over-rely on those things. And so we use them as little as possible until we get up to our max set. grips because in meets, trying to use wrist straps because in meets you can't use them. But I'd rather work as heavy as you can until your grip fails, and then throw on a strap and keep going if you can. Because we want to get as much work for the back as possible. We don't want the hands to be a limiting factor. Obviously, we want to get as much, lift as much weight as your back can lift. Same with when you're doing repetitions. If your grip fails after 3, 4, 5 reps, but you could have got 8, then throw a strap on the next set. Did I just say strap on? Throw some wrist straps. Wear some wrist straps. Yeah, don't strap on. And do your next set so you can get all the repetitions. You want the limiting factor to be the muscles you're trying to work with, which is your back in this exercise. So we're going to pyramid up to the meet. We've got a 10-week run for Mr. Olympia. So what I'm trying to do is work up to 700 pounds today. Try and get a few reps here, and then gradually over the course of the next 10 weeks, I'll add some weight each week, and maybe come down to 3 reps, 2 reps, until I get to the meet, which I'll pull the heaviest weight. You don't want to max out prior to a big meet. Then you peak out and start having a decline in strength. So this will be our last set for the day, and I'll try and put in a few reps here and cap off the deadlift. And just for the record, this is Ben White's max, but we got this for 1 barely. Let's see how I can do. Typically on deadlift day, we finish with some exercises to stretch the back out, like chins or a lat pull down, help stretch the back out. Kind of shy of equipment here, so we'll wrap up with that. I'll just do some hangs from the monolift to stretch it out, and then sometimes we'll do maybe a long pulley row just to get some more back work. But on a heavy day, it's pretty much just trying to get as much deadlifting in as we can. And then, like with chest, we cycle the workouts so that next time I'll do ancillary exercises. I'll do chins, long pulley rows, lat pull down, one arms, or T-bars. Just a couple sets of each, and that'll be a workout. And then we repeat some more exercises, and then third workout down the road we might deadlift again. So I'll probably only deadlift heavy about every second or third week. Give your body a chance to recover from that. It's more than just the muscles. There's a lot of tendon and ligament strain, bicep tendon, and there's also that impact on the central nervous system that you want to get your body to adapt to. So I try not to deadlift too often, particularly this heavy, and that'll help you continue to make progress without topping out or getting injured. And what I keep talking about over and over again in this video is putting yourself in a position to be as strong as possible, as successful lifts as possible. So that's another thing to consider. If you're going to have your workouts back to back to back, if you think you're going to squat and the next day bench and the next day deadlift, you're going to see a decline in performance. So spread those out and don't pre-exhaust or overtrain muscles that you're going to be working the next day. And I usually take at least a day, maybe 2 days off, especially after a deadlift session or a squat session. I'll take 2 full days off of training and then go do a bench, and then take another full day off before I train again. And that helps me get completely recovered so that I can be stronger for the next workout. All of it goes into being able to reach your max performance. All of the tips and tricks that I talked to you about, as far as warming up slowly, not pre-exhausting yourself, not getting too much blood pump in your muscle, giving yourself plenty of rest between sets. All of that's going to help maximize your strength. Let's go eat.